Wednesday, May the 11th. When we did the fishing report last week, I said the lake was on the rise. Well, it really rose. It went up 11 feet since last week. So lake level is, not right at 927. It got up to about 927 half, 927 and 3/4, which is about 12 feet over, 11 and a half, 12 feet. But it is coming down. The lake is in really good shape. For as fast as the lake came up previous years, we've had log jams all over the place, but it wasn't bad at all this time. And I kind of been fishing all over the lake. There's some debris out there floating, which is going to happen when the water comes up 11, 12 feet. A lot of that stuff, the stuff that's on the shoreline is going to float out. But for the most part, the water clarity, water's clearing up, it's filtering out. I was up in Long Creek area today, and water's got real good color. A lot of the brown that was way up in the James, it seems like it's kind of settling out, and they're still moving so much water that you could probably go way up the rivers and it'll be in good shape, clean, because they've still got floodgates open, dumping a bunch. Beaver's still dumping quite a bit in here. But anyways, water temperature, it's climbing up there. I had 67, 68 degrees in the morning. We had several places had 7-degree water temperature. But when that lake come up this weekend, I think the fishing was pretty stingy for the most part. There were several tournaments, and weights were real low, and we struggled over the weekend. But every day has gotten better since then. It seems like, once the water got up, fish are adjusting to it, or we're adjusting to what the fish are doing. Is probably more, better way to put it. But, we've been catching 12 to 14 keepers a day, catching them a lot of different ways. Well, not a lot of different ways. The main thing to catch our fish has been Ned rigs, split shot, with light lining. But there is a deal that's going on right now. It's a shad spawn. And, I'll talk a little bit about that. Some of you may not know what the shad spawn is, but when that water gets up to about 70 degrees every year, the shad start to spawn. And I've had people call me and text me and say, hey, what are all these shad doing around my dock? There's like 1 million of them in the morning. They're all buzzing around. Well, what them shad do is they lay their eggs like on the styrofoam on the docks. They lay it on the timber. I've even had them lay eggs on the back of my boat while I'm fishing. But so when that shad spawn starts, you'll see, especially for the first couple hours in the morning, you'll see a bunch of shad. Kind of looks like they're going in circles around each other, but they're going to be around right now with so much cover in the water. They're actually around a lot of the bushes. They are around some boat docks. So if you can get into an area where you see a lot of this, the bite's been good, and there's a lot of different ways to catch them there. Now, I've been catching some on a walking bait, some on a spinner bait, some on a chatter bait, also some on a frog. Now, this is a Big Bites toad series, or Tor series toad. It's similar to like a horny toad. And problem with a wake bait or a walking bait, there's so much little debris. We kind of call it sawdust, like leaves, pieces of grass, that a lot of times you only get your bait worked halfway back to the boat, and you've got some of that trash on your treble hooks. Well, this bait here will come right through it and over it real good. You can work it slow. You can work it like a buzz bait. Like I say, we're picking up some fish on that. Now, with all them bushes and stuff in the water, I'm sure there's people catching them out of the bushes, flipping. But I've tried a lot of different jigs, a lot of different creature baits, fishing up in people's backyards, fishing the isolated trees back in there. And I am really struggling to get any kind of a solid, consistent flipping bite. My most consistent bite, like I said, has been on light line stuff, and it seems like a lot of the fish are on the old bank line. If I keep the boat in 20 to 22 feet, where I'm fishing 8 to 12 feet, which would have been the old bank line a week ago, that's where the majority of my fish are coming from. If I'm in the clear water, like Kimberling down to State Park, the majority of the fish have been smallmouth. And there's some good quality smallmouth. So we've been catching some 2.5, 2 3/4 pound smallmouth. I've been up into James, and it seems like fishing the same pattern. They seem to be Kentuckies, which kind of makes sense because there's more smallmouth down there in that, lower end of the lake. But it seems like if I've got some stain or color in the water, like up around Baxter, Campbell Point, they're kind of mixed smallmouths and Kentuckies and a few largemouths. I have not been able to get like a football jig or wobblehead bite. I think a lot of these fish are still spawning, and I think there's still a lot more that are gonna spawn. Along with the shad spawn, we've had topwater bites in the mornings on some bluff ends, around some deep docks, and over submerged timber. And a lot of them fish haven't spawned yet. They're good and chunky. And even the fish we are catching on the light line stuff, a lot of them, their tails are not rubbed. Some of them look like they have spawned out. They're kind of skinny, but a lot of the spots we're catching still haven't spawned out. So I think there's still a lot of fish in the next week or so. They're going to be up there spawning. I haven't seen any new beds. The water's been pretty consistent for about 3 or 4 days, and now it's starting to come down a little bit. It's not coming down fast, and probably not gonna with as much water as what's coming in. But the good thing is, the bite's been a lot more fun. We've been catching a lot more fish. You don't have to work quite as hard to catch them, but it seems like I got to fish dead slow. And there's a lot of different baits you can catch them on. I mean, you catch them on a shaky head. You catch them on a split shot, like a little zoom centipede. We've been catching some on a 3.5 and 4-inch tube with a 3/16 or 1/4 ounce head in it. I've been throwing a green pumpkin with a little orange. I've been throwing this, it's kind of a mustard or a baby puke color. But the Ned rigs that seem to be working the best for me, I've been using a 5-fish ultimate Ned jig head. 3/16 seems to be the best size, and depending on the water clarity, if it's real clear, a green pumpkin, watermelon, PBJ. But if it's got some stain in it, this Bomber Craw with little orange and brown is outperforming the other ones a lot better. And if I'm throwing like a little French fry or centipede, or even on the shaky head, I'm usually, if it's stained water, I'm dipping the tail in a little bit of chartreuse. I think you can probably catch them on a small jig, like a jewel pee-wee football jig, but I have not been able to catch very many fish on a big football jig or a swing head with like a creature trailer. Seems like it's got to be small baits is what I'm catching the majority of my fish on, but I think that's going to change as more fish get done spawning. They'll start getting on a little bit bigger baits. And I'm sure there is a good flipping bite somewhere, but I have not been able to find it yet. I haven't been way up in the river arms in the off cold water. I'm sure in the afternoons it's in the mid-70s, and there may be more fish up there that are done spawning. But I'll just have to try to get up there and check it out. So till next week, good luck, good fishing.